Hi children, good afternoon to everyone. I am Rajasrinath R, PGT Bioscience, TTWRS Boys, Kodangal. Today we are going to discuss about the plant parts, and before going to the part of the plants, now I will tell you a small story which is very interesting to hear. The story is about a farmer. Once upon a time there was a farmer and who want to sell his seeds to market, and he started his journey on a cartwheel with a lot of seeds in a full of bag, and he started his journey on cartwheel. While he is on a journey, he stuck with a big rock, and one of the seed from the bag was fallen down on a soil. The seed was very sad about that situation. Where it has been fallen down, that was very barren, and even it is not at all having any water, and it is very dry in nature. Then the seed was very sad about the situation what the seed had. In that case, the seed prayed to God, "Oh God, please help me to find something to get inside of the soil. I'm unable to tolerate the temperature and all." That's what a seed said. The God is obviously, he obeyed the situation of the seed, and God said and replied with a buffalo in the nature of buffalo. And the buffalo was walked into the street, and buffalo placed its leg on the particular seed, and the seed went into the underground of the soil. Then obviously seed felt little happy about the situation what it had, because earlier it was on the surface of the soil, now it is under the soil. It's something safe, and seed felt okay, I'm little happy. On the next day, the soil was little become dry because of the hot climate, and seed unable to feel like feeling like a thirsty nature, because it is not getting any water and any other resources, and not at all nutrition. Then seed is feeling very thirsty. Then in that situation, seed prayed again for the God to give something little amount of water to my growth. Please help me, God, like that it is prayed. Obviously, God obeyed that situation even of a seed. Then he replied with a rainfall. A little rainfall leads to getting of that thirsty was recovered for the seed, and seed felt very happy. On next day morning, it started its growth. Its growth started with the roots and beautiful leaves, with the small leaves and beautiful greenery leaves was started to grow. Obviously, it want to reply, or it want to give the gift to nature again, to God, and with the help of that God, it want to return gift to the nature. Then it started a cool wind, which will created the rain situation to fall on, and even it is a green in nature, the leaves fallen down, and it is giving the healthiness of the soil. That means in this story, morally, the seed was grown into a plant, and plant grown into a tree. Then it is given the wind and air, as well as it is giving a food resources and all. That's what the beautiful nature of the environment and plant relations. Like how the rain is help to the plant, and plant return help to the giving of the rain to fall down of the rain, as well as it is a grazing for the buffalo, even it is also useful. That a mutualistic interaction between the plants and nature, that is what very beautiful what we can say relation between the nature and the plants. That's why we have to know the importance of the plants, how the relationship goes like a mutualistic with growth of together, like what we are doing, humans, Harithaharam programs are like that. We are growing the plants, and we are mutually growing together with a reference of plants as well as earth covering. Today, our topic is to know about the beautiness of the plant, and know about the parts of the plant, and know about the functions of the plant, and how it is useful for the environment. Okay guys, I'll start with my class plants and parts. Now look at this. If you see, every part of the plant is very, very beautiful. If you see a particular chart, a PPT here, as well as look at this plant. In this plant, how many parts you are seeing, guys? Hopefully everyone knows about it. I think the base part of the plant we are calling it as a root, and the parallel part of the what we are seeing here, the striated part, we are calling it as a stem, and the green colored leaves are present, and even little flowers even present. Here in this case we can see majorly 4 kinds of parts. The first part we are calling it as a roots, and second part we are calling it as a stem, and third part we are calling it as a leaves, and fourth part we are calling it as a flower. Here majorly 4 parts are present in the every plant. We cannot apply to this to every plant, but most of the plant which is a flowering plant which is consisting of a majorly 4 parts. In that system we have to go one by one, we have to read one by one part and what it is doing, how it is modified its location to the particular environment, and how it is adapted. That is what we are going to see. In such cases, now I want to tell you the first part of the plant that we are calling it as a plant parts. We are calling it as a first part we are going to see, that is roots of the plant, root systems of the plant. In this case, guys, in the root system, majorly in all kinds of plants, which is a flowering plants preferably we can say, the root system is majorly 2 types. One we are calling it as a taproot system, which is only, here it is a taproot system is nothing but the roots were generated from the radical part of the seed. The radical part which is going to be generate the roots, that roots we are calling it as a taproot system. And if you go with a taproot system which is present in a long-term crops. But the second type of root system is, this root system we are calling it as a fibrous root system. As you are been observing this diagram carefully, if you see particularly at this position where the soil has been dipped here, the roots were generated from the stem. Even in your location you can find there also, you can find the grass materials also. Here if you observe the grass materials root, the roots were generated from the stem of the plant. It means that the fibrous root system indicating that there is a generation of roots from the stem, that we are calling it as a fibrous root system. The taproot system is nothing but what? It is, taproot system is a system which is generated by the radical. Here we have 2 kinds of root systems are there. One we are calling it as a taproot system, and second one we are calling it as a fibrous root system. There is 2 root systems are there. Here the root systems we are calling here, one is taproot system, second one is fibrous root system. What we are seeing, taproot system is majorly, it is generated from the radical part of the seed, and which is having the mother root as well as the branches will be generated from that particular mother root. But in the case of the fibrous root, what it is going to be happen here? The fibrous root which is generated from the stem, and it is having a branches over there only. This is called fibrous root system. The taproot system is present in most of the dicot plants, but fibrous root system is present in monocot plants. And we have to know what is a monocot and what is a dicot. right? It will be, we are going to read in a higher education and all. But we can know in a leaf system we will read how to differentiate the monocot and dicot plants. Now on the case of the root system, here we can differentiate easily. Taproot system is present in well-developed planted system. Not most of the dicots, we cannot say all the dicots, most of the dicots are consisting of the taproot system. Few of them adventitious root systems also there. It is a particular case which is exceptional. But in the case of the fibrous root system, monocots will be short-term crops, especially which is having a 120 days and less than of age, that we are calling it as a short-term crops. In that case, the fibrous root system will be generated. This is the very, very important systems. One is taproot system and second one is fibrous root system. And what is a major functions of the root? What it is going to do? Can you expect what kind of the functions will be done by the root? Can you expect, guys? For example, if you see the root system particularly, what it is doing, it is helpful for anchoring. You can see that here up to this level the plant is merged in the soil. Obviously what will happen, it is helpful for the anchoring of the plant. Anchoring is nothing but what? Holding of the plant in the soil, that we are calling it as a anchoring of the plant. And not only that, what is the major use of the root here? It is absorption of water from the soil. Here in the case, what will happen, whichever the roots are there, that is useful for the absorption of water as well as minerals to the particular plant. In that case, it is useful for the anchoring as well as absorption of water and even translocation of water roots to stem. What is translocation? Will you write the spelling of it? Look at here, translocation. Here in this case, trans means changing of location. Trans means what? Here, trans means change of location. That means what? Here translocation of what? Water as well as minerals. Here we are calling it as a translocation of water and translocation of minerals. How this translocation will take place? Here in this case, where the water and minerals are present? Obviously in a soil. Soil consisting of lot of minerals and lot of water, that will be absorbed by the root and that translocates into stem for particular water and minerals, which is useful for the growth of the plant. Guys, can I give you here a brainstorming question? If roots are not present in the plant, then what will happen? Is there any other source to survive of the plant? Can you guess? Right. Look at here, that much important. If there is no root system, they are unable to absorb the water and they are unable to absorb the minerals, they are unable to grow a proper way. That is a way roots are very, 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 very important. Indeed, now you might have know about the importance of the roots also. And some of the functions of the roots we learned. But not only these functions, root also perform a variety of functions. Look at this diagram, what you are seeing here. The diagram is nothing but here if you see the particular sets of diagrams are there in PPT, as well as I have a live examples here. The first one, here I will take radish. What is this, guys? Radish. If you see this radish, it is a modification of root. And even if you observe the particular type of root here, the two edges of the radish is narrow. Look at here, the top of the edge of the radish and bottom edge of the radish is narrow, but the mid of the radish is little swollen. These kind of stored roots, we are calling it as a fusiform roots. I am telling you now, the root modification in that case, the first case I am telling you that it is a fusiform root. The fusiform root is nothing but, I am telling you guys here, fusiform. Fusiform is nothing but what? in the narrow shape at the top of the edge and bottom of the edge also narrow, but the middle will be swollen type. Then this type of root system we are calling it as a one kind of store root system, we are calling it as a fusiforms. Example of the fusiform radish, example is, obviously it is, we already saw this one, radish is an example. And the second one of the root system is, I had a small example here, everyone might have been seen this. In your villages also you will find, and daily life also we are eating it, right? What is this, guys? It is a beetroot. Beetroot, root itself, beetroot in the name only, it is indicating the root system, right? In that case, the beetroot, whichever here it is, the middle part of the beetroot, whichever is there, that is swollen type, right? It is swollen in the middle of the beetroot, and the narrows are not there. That is nothing but in the top is also not there, and the bottom also not having any narrow-edged systems. Then this type of stored roots, we are calling it as a napiform roots. Remember that, napiform. Napiform is nothing but which has to be swollen at the mid of the root, and edges will not be that much swollen. That is how this we are calling it as a napiform. Nice. How it is seems to be like? It is seems to be like oval shape, right? Are you seeing the oval shape? Can you remind where you find the oval shape? Can you guess where you find the oval shape? An earth structure, you might have been heard about that oval shape, right? In that case, it is seems to be oval, like what the beetroot is also, right? How the earth is seems to be like? It is like oval shape, like what the beetroot is looking like, right? Now we got the napiform. What is the example for the napiform? And it is a beetroot. We know that beetroot is an example of napiform root system. And not only that, in the last stored root system, I had here one more example, that is here everyone know it is very sweeter. Every Saturday in Gurukulas we have a very sweet, right? It is a carrot halwa we will make. This is a carrot, right? In the carrot, if you see observe the carrot, we can call it as a carrot. Carrot it is actually. Carrot, if you see that at the edge, top edge of the carrot is swollen type. But if you comes to the bottom of the carrot, what it is little narrow. Then in such a cases, we have to call it as a cone shaped. In a mathematical one, you might have been heard about the cone, right? The cone. To find out the angles and all, we will use this one in mathematical, right? Cone type of carrots are present, and branches will be, root branches will be generated from there. Here the example is carrot. I am telling about the stored root systems here. Different modifications are there. These are the forms of the stored roots. First one is fusiform, second one is napiform, and third one is cone form. Not only this, guys, several other root systems also there. For example, if you observe carefully, you might have been knowing about that particular system. What you are seeing in that diagram, that is our Gurukula's uniform. Haven't you remember, guys? Right? Here the first modification what I mentioned in that slide, that is nodular roots. If you see, observe carefully the nodular roots, there is nodules are there. The nodules which will be formed by the rhizobium bacteria in leguminous plants. Rhizobium bacteria, observe that slide carefully. You will see that nodules in the particular root system, and that nodules are formed because of a bacteria, a specialized bacteria. The bacteria we are calling it as a rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria is an example for the nitrogen fixation. Remember that the bacteria name we are calling it as a rhizobium bacteria, and rhizobium bacteria which is forming a root nodules which will make the nodules in a root which will act as a fixation of nitrogen here. It is also example for the symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship is nothing but what? A symbiont is nothing but, here the both should be helpful together. The plant is legume plant. Obviously, it is giving the anoxygenic condition to the particular rhizobium bacteria to grow. That means plus interaction. Rhizobium giving back again to the legume plant by fixing of nitrogen. Here the legume plant giving the anoxygenic condition, that is absence of oxygen, we are calling it as a anoxygenic conditions which is created in a root system, that is given by the roots of legume plants, and that will be useful for the growth of rhizobium. And rhizobium returning the use of the particular plant, rhizobium is returning back by fixing of the nitrogen. This is what a mutually both are cooperate together. This interaction we have to call it as a mutual interaction, which is leads to be formation of root nodules, right? That is, it's one of the example. And even, have you ever saw banyan tree? Just look at that slide carefully. You will follow the banyan tree over there. That is consisting of pillar roots. The roots acts like a pillar, and those are called pillar roots, which is an example of banyan tree. And even stilt roots are there. Stilt roots are present especially in sugar cane as well as sorghum and other monocot plants. Like if you see in that particular slide, the roots came out of the soil and attaches to the stem. It is not, it's creating something what stiltness. That is nothing but it is giving the something what support to the stem to stand from the out pressures which is coming. Like for example, if a fast wind come, then what will happen? The plant may get fall down. In that cases, the stilt roots are more useful for the stilt roots are more useful for the what it should be get stronger more enough to be, right? Those are the very, very important. I said that nodular roots, example is legume plants and rhizobium bacteria. I said, and even pillar roots also there. Pillar roots, and example is banyan tree. What I said, what you saw in that particular slide, that we are calling it as a banyan tree acting as a pillar roots, which is having a pillar like roots. And the last one I said about that stilt root system. Stilt roots are nothing but, stilt is nothing but giving of something what support to that particular plant. This we are calling it as a stilt root system. Stilt root system which is giving a support to the particular plant. These are the different kinds of root modification. The root modification, several types are there. In that, whichever the important for us, we learned it, right? Just I will revise you again, right? Root systems, two are there. One is taproot system. Second one is fibrous root system. And root modifications, several are there, like stored roots are there, like napiform, fusiform, and cone shaped, and even nodular roots are there, pillar roots are there, stilt roots are there. Likewise, lot of root systems are there. According to their location, according to the availability of nutrition, they survived and they made nutrients to it, right? And this is what about the root system. Hopefully, you are understand it well. The next one is, next part of the plant is stem. Stem is a aerial part. Look at here, guys. A stem in a plant is always been an aerial part. But don't think that 100% all stems are not aerial. There is underground stems also there. We are saying it as all stems are, most of the stems, 95% of the plants which is consisting of their stems in a aerial part. But few are there underground even. And the stem always grows in anti-gravitational. Anti-gravitational is nothing but, you have to know little physics knowledge over there. What is gravity over there? Gravitation is nothing but what? Gravitation. Gravitation is nothing but what? It is a magnetic nature of the earth we are calling it as a gravitation, and the stem is growing against gravitational force, that we are calling it as a anti-gravitational growth will be takes place in the stem. And if you see a particular stem structure, and what is the major function of the stem, even guys you can compare this gravitational force in roots also. If you go with that, anti-gravitational force will be growth of the stem will takes place, but in the root system it will grows as the gravitational force follows. Like it is goes like gravitational force, and stem grows like a anti-gravitational activity, right? Here we can compare the physics nature in this case of biology also. Here it is what the stem major function. First of all, it supports the growth of the plant. Like for example, every stem is consisting of their parts, like leaves are present. If you look at this stem, we have a leaves over there, and even flowers are present, even branches of the plants are present on the stem. That means it is supporting the growth of the plant. Not only that, transportation. How come the leaves get the nutrients from the soil? With the help of the stem only. If there is no stem is there, then how the translocation of the water and minerals will be takes place to the plant's other parts rather than the root system. Here the stem will play a vital role. Not only that, a stem is also useful for the storage of food material. That means here it is a transportation, one of the function, and the third function is storaging of food also. Some of the stems will store of food materials in a plant, right? These are the major functions which is performed by the stem, which is attaches to the roots even, and it is consisting of branches. And before going to the stem and its modification, I will show you a few pictures here. Guys, can you guess what it is? Every day, right? Every day in our life, day-to-day life, we are using this. Which vegetable it is? It's a potato, right? Potato, right? Potato, where it is present? It is a aerial part of the plant or a underground part of the plant? Obviously, your answer is, I hope so, sure, most of the people know about that. Potato will be present underground of the soil. That means what? Is that root modification? Can you guess why potato is not a root modification? Potato is not a root modification, it is a stem modification, because it is unable to have absorption capacity and all. It is a stem modification, right? Now I'll show you few pictures and I'll explain you how the storage in stem will takes place, especially in underground stem system. In this case, guys, stem modification, if you see particular stem modification, I will tell you the first underground stem modification. We always think that stem is always aerial type, but it is not correct. Sometimes the stem might be in underground nature. For example, you can look at the slide carefully. The slide is showing the first one is tuber stem, second one is rhizome, third one is corm, and fourth one is bulbs. These four are the stem modification which is present in underground. For example, every day-to-day life you can see here, potato we will see, this we are calling it as a tuber stem. Tuber stem, we can call it as a tuberous stem, which is example of the tuberous stem is potato. Potato is the best examples we are using a day-to-day life. And not only that, you can even I hope so, you might have been seen ginger. Are you able to see the ginger? Right, it is also a stem modification which is known as, generally we are calling it as a rhizome. We are calling it as a rhizome. Example is ginger. Ginger is also present in a underground of the soil. It is also a stem modification. It is also stem modification. Ginger is present in a underground of the soil. Generally in marriages we used to say pasupu komu. It does means what? It is a rhizome. Here it is turmeric is also an example of rhizome, and even ginger is also example of a rhizome. These two are the best examples we are seeing in daily life situations, right? In this case, the rhizome examples are, first one what I said is ginger, and the second example is turmeric, generally we can call, which is basically we use for the antibiotic, like whenever we will get a wounds or we will get a any infections, we use the turmeric as a best antibiotic, right? And not only that, we have a still few more underground stem modifications are there. Hopefully most of the peoples in hostel days they used to like this curry, hope so. This is a colocasia actually. Generally in Telugu we are calling it as a chama dumpalu, right? This is a type of root which we are calling it as a calm. It is a type of root which is a stem type of modification. It is a, we are calling it as a calms, underground stem it is. And in this case, whenever we will see the particular calms, we thought like roots are present, or we will think like it is a root modification, but it is not. It is a completely underground stem modification. Example for the calm is colocasia. Colocasia is a best example. Chamadumpalu we can call it in Telugu, right? That is a best example for the calms. Not only that, last one, and this is also we are familiar with this vegetable, even onion. Onion, do you know onion is not a root? Everyone, it is undergrounded, but onion is not a root. It is always a stem modification. And don't think guys, onion, whichever the upper layer leaves are there, these are called fleshy leaves. The leaves, don't get confused. The leaves of the onion, just look at carefully what I am dragging here. The outer layer of the leaves, these are called fleshy leaves. This is the leaf modification. But where the stem modification, whenever you cut that particular onion into halves, two halves, you will able to see a mid of the part that we are calling it as a bulb. The bulb is a stem modification. Remember that bulb is a stem modification that we are calling it as a onion is a best example for that. And even garlic you can take it as an example. Onion as well as garlic, which is consisting a mid of the portion of the onion is a stem modification, but not outer covering leaves, whichever it's present. Because outer covering leaves are what? It is a fleshy leaves. It is a fleshy leaf modification. Remember it is very carefully guys. I am reminding you what are the stem modification which is presenting underground. The first one is tuberous stem. Tuberous stem is potato, and rhizome generally we are calling it as a ginger as well as turmeric, and carm we are calling it as an example is a colocasia, and chamadumpalu we will say, and bulb is onion as well as garlic also we can take it as the best examples. These are the underground stem modification, but stem will show even aerial modifications also, that we have to know aerial stem modification. And is there any kind of aerial stem modification? I will show you a very good picture. Even everyone thinks that the thorns and spines, little bit confusion over there. What are the thorns, and when we have to say it as a spines, like they'll get confused. Now I'll clarify that particular doubt. Hopefully everyone knows about this plant. Usually in your villages even you will find this, right? Generally we are calling it as bougainvillea. Bougainvillea. And if you observe carefully the bougainvillea plant, if you see the structure of the bougainvillea plant, here the bougainvillea at the edge of the stem, just look at that, it is not at the edge of the leaf, if you observe carefully the edge of this stem, which is at the nodes, stem nodes, we will be able to find a specialized systems are there. Those are called thorns. Thorns, generally we are we will see in most of the plants thorns are present literally. The thorns are nothing but thorns are best example for the aerial stem modification. Aerial stem modification, thorns are present. Look at it is very carefully. Example is bougainvillea. This is bougainvillea. Bougainvillea is the best example for the consisting of thorns. But don't get confused with spines as well as thorns. Both are seems to be like same, but it is completely different. If you look at the slide, particularly the bougainvillea plant which is representing over there, and it is showing the thorns over there, but not spines. Spines are what? It is a leaf modification. Remember that, guys. I am telling you again. Thorns are the stem modification and spines are the leaf modification. We have to observe it carefully. Even not only this, we have a few aerial stem modifications also there. One we are calling it as and second one, tendrils. Tendrils is also one of the best example. You might have been seen in cucurbitaceae family like watermelon, or you can take kira, dosa, or like these like cucurbitaceae, cucumbers especially. If you see that particular plant, what will happen? If you see that particular stem, the stem will be turns at the edge of the stem will be turns into a tendril nature. Generally we are calling it as a nulitigalu, right? Here it is a nulitigalu, in Telugu we are calling here, but here we can say it as a tendrils are present, but these are stem tendrils, remember that. Stem tendrils are different and leaf tendrils are different. Here it is a stem tendrils are present in cucurbita family. Cucurbita family consisting of stem tendrils, especially watermelon you can take. Watermelon is a best example for the stem tendrils, right? These are the different kinds of aerial stem modifications also there. I hope so. You might have been knowing about what a stem modification, what the functions does the stem is doing, right? This is what the stem modification. And next part of the plant. Now we are completed the root and root systems, root functions and root modification. And now we are going to be leaf parts. Before going to the leaf parts, I want to ask one question which is very interesting. Haven't you seen the bougainvillea plant? Now only I shown that bougainvillea plant. Why it is consisting of thorns? Why not other plants? For example, you can take neem plant is there, mango plant is there, and apart from that rice is there, wheat is there. Why only bougainvillea such a plants and few of the plants only consisting of thorns? Why not other plants? Right? Look at here, only what I am showing it here is the bougainvillea and few of the plants only consisting of thorns or spines, not all the plants. Why? I hope so. Most of them you have been guessed that answer. Yes, guys, it is answer is they want to escape from the predators. What are the predators? Like herbivorous animals are there, goats are there, rabbits are there, or deers are there, or we can say sheep are there. Like these herbivorous animals, they want to eat that particular plant material. Then they want to escape from the predator. That predator, these plants want to escape from that particular predator. Then they started an adaptation like a generation of thorns and generation of spines like that. Most of the plants in desert we can see like that particular aspects. Especially, have you seen the Opuntia or Casuarina or Bougainvillea or Fescue? This like of plants which is having a desert like adaptation. This adaptations we are calling it as a xerophytic adaptation. Remember that it is very important term. You have to know spelling of it. Xerotype is not Z letter starting word. It is a XE letter. Remember that. Xerophyta. Xerus means dry. Phyta means plant. It's nothing but what? Wherever the dry area is there, there only the plants will grow. then these are called xerophytic plant. The xerophytic plant's adaptation is to reduce from the escape from the predators. They have started to generate the spines or like thorns like that. They had adaptations. Like not only that, guys, and do you know which desert we have? Most of these are desert plants example. Which desert in India we have? Right, yes, we have a desert called Thar Desert, which is the world's largest desert. You might have been known in as GK, right? As Sahara Desert is a answer. Like where we can find such a plants in a desert condition. Not only that, wherever the dry conditions are also there and wherever the availability of water is less, there this kind of plants we can see preferably. Now that is what the logical question answer. Now we are moving to a next part of the plant, that is leaf, right? Right. The next part of the plant is we are calling it as a leaf. If you observe closely the leaf structure, here I had two kinds of leaves, guys. I'll show you preferably, hope so. The first I'll show you, hopefully I think you might have been know this plant, sorghum plant actually it is. If you see the structure of the leaf of particular sorghum plant and even observe this second leaf also. Here the second leaf is about mangoes and first leaf is about sorghum. So what is the major difference are you guys thinking about? Is there any difference? Yes, obviously there is a difference is there. Which kind of major difference you are finding here? Right. I'll tell you the major differences in between that. Especially in a sorghum plant, in sorghum leaf, if you observe carefully, the lines are very parallel. Remember that? The lines are very parallel. But in a second leaf, if you see that the mango leaf, whichever I shown in previously, here it is mango leaf and first one is sorghum leaf. If you look at the structure of the mango leaf and if you look at the structure of the sorghum leaf, the basic fundamentals are presented here is, the first one we are calling it as a base of the leaf, and the second part we are calling it as this is petiole, and the mid of the particular leaf we are calling it as a midrib, and the total surface of the particular leaf we are calling it as a lamina. The branches of the particular leaf we are calling it as here whichever the midrib generated branches we are calling it as veins. These are the fundamental basic structure of the leaf. There is 5 parts, right? 5 parts are majorly present. In this case, the base is there, petiole is there, midrib is there, lamina is there, veins are also there. This is the fundamental. Even in the case of the parallel, if you see the parallel lines, like what are the parallel lines? It is nothing but, if you see the railway track, the 2 lines are parallel in nature. In that case, likewise only here the parallel lines are there. That is the way the veins are parallel, then we have to say it as a parallel venation. And in this case, veins are randomly arranged, then we have to say it as a reticular venation. Reticular venation is nothing but veins are randomly arranged parallel venation is nothing but parallel line wise they are arranged, then we have to call it as a parallel venation. Hope so. Most of the monocot plant, remember, wherever the leaf structure is parallel in nature, for example, you can take as a best example like bamboos, otherwise sugarcane, otherwise sorghum. If you take likewise examples is as a monocot plants, and reticular, wherever the reticular venation is there, like you can take mango, you can take dahlicus, or you can take beans, or you can take any other which is having a reticular venation, that we can call it as a reticular venation types. Most of them, they are example for the dicots. Remember that, guys, these are the majorly two kinds of leaves are there, and here the leaf is consisting of majorly 5 parts. One is base of the leaf and petiole, midrib, lamina, and veins are present. And if it is parallelly venated is there, monocots, and if it is reticularly venated, we have to call it as a dicot, right? And if you go with the functions of the leaf and modifications of the leaf, especially if you look at that chart, insectivorous leaf, wherever the nitrogen source is deficient, the plant unable to grab the nitrogen from the soil, then their leaves turns into a particular cone shaped modification. That modification we are calling it as a insectivorous plants modification. Especially you can see in that slide, Nepenthes is the best example for the insectivorous plant. If you see that cone shaped, the insect will be entered into the particular cone, and the insect will get trapped by the gel released by the particular Nepenthes, and they will grab the nitrogen source. If it is a nitrogen source is present in the soil, they won't turn their leaf into the cone shape. Obviously, the Nepenthes is a best example for it. Not only that, and second more example is as pines. I said in a previously also Opuntia. Opuntia generally we can see in villages wherever the dry conditions are present. There you can see Opuntia. If you see that slide, spines are the examples of the leaf modification. And the last one is reproductive leaves. Look at that carefully. This is bougainvillea. Sorry, it is Ranapala. Ranapala, it is a bryophyllum plant which is the best example for the reproductive leaf. In that case, have you seen the leaf is generating the plants? That means leaf participate in a vegetative reproduction. That is a way. It is also a kind of modification. That means leaf reproduction is also one kind of modification. Then we are calling it as a leaf participating in even reproduction. Right? What is the major functions of the leaves it is doing? That we can discuss in a respiration of the plants. Now we are going to discuss about the respiration in plant, guys. This is very, very, very important. What we have to discuss about respiration. The major function of the leaf, whichever is present in the plant, that will do a respiration. With the help of what? With the help of the cells called stomata. It is an arrangement, we are calling it as a stomata, which is consisting of 2 cells in generally. These cells we are calling it as a God cells. These are the God cells which will make the arrangement of stomata. In each of the every leaf we will find this stomatal arrangement. If it is performed, if you look at the slide carefully, you can observe that the stomata in first case it is open, and the second case the stomata is closed. What will happen if a stomata is opens or closes? The exchange of the air will take place. Like what the respiration is nothing but C6H12O6. It is a generally formula of a carbohydrate that we are calling it as a glucose. In the presence of oxygen, what it turns into carbon dioxide, as well as it generates something what water, as well as it releases the ATP energy. With the help of the oxygen, if you look at the reaction carefully, with the help of the oxygen, the carbohydrates get digested and releases the energy resource. ATP is nothing but what? Adenosine. Adenosine triphosphate. Here in such a case, here in such a case, generation of ATP energy is a major function of the respiration. Even plants will do the respiration functions. We have a hypothesis like black magic cases in villages, like peoples will get scared while in a summer season if we sleep under the tamarind plant, under the mango plant. What they'll think, something what's ghost will come, evil will come and sit on in front of us, and if we are unable to breathe like that, they will rumor they will create, like peoples will get scared. But it is not correct. At the night time, most of the greenery plants will perform the more and more respiration. Obviously, what will happen? More amount of the carbon dioxide will be released, more amount of oxygen will get utilized. Here the oxygen utilization and releasing of carbon dioxide, and the people's unable to breathe. That means what? These are the rumors. The science has to rectify these rumors. Hopefully, you might have been understanding this concept of the respiration. The exchange of the gases like oxygen intake and carbon dioxide. Hopefully everyone will think that, every time we will think that carbon dioxide will be absorbed by the plant, oxygen only releases. No, not like that. In respiration it will be reversed. In respiration what will happen? Oxygen gets absorbed and carbon dioxide will get releases. This is the what respiration, and it is a catabolic activity. You have to remember, because it is getting digestion of the carbon dioxide. That is why it is a catabolic activity. And even though in a slide, if you see carefully here, the lenticels are present, even it is also helpful for the exchange of the gases. And not only that, if you see the last diagram of it, aerial roots, roots will origin from the out of the soil, then those are called aerial roots, which is present in mangrove plants. Do you know mangroves? Like brackish water, where the river water will be merges into the sea water. The place we are calling it as a brackish water. The brackish water where muddy region, the roots will be get out from the soil. Those are the pneumatic roots, generally we are calling it as a slide we have seen. Abyssinia are the best example for that what you are seeing. The last one of our topic is photosynthesis. It is very important. I will discuss a few more sentences on photosynthesis. Where do the photosynthesis will take place? In plant's leaf, obviously. The plant leaf, what it will do? It will synthesize their food material on their own. How? For example, 6CO2 plus 12H2O. I will show you in a slide even. Look at that reaction. Write down that reaction if it is possible in your notes. Right? 6CO2, 12H2O. In the case of the presence of light and chlorophyll, they'll synthesize the carbohydrate material C6H12O6, and they will also release the oxygen, 6 moles of oxygen, plus they'll release the 6H2O. This reaction is many times in a sex examination they used to ask, but here in this case you have to understand the concept behind of it. How many moles of carbon dioxide it is taking, how many moles of H2Os it require. For that we have to know little chemistry knowledge, right? In this case, for example guys, where the photosynthesis takes place? Obviously in the leaves. Not only leaves, even stem also they'll have a something what little photosynthetic activity, but it is very less, because leaves consisting of more chloroplast. The chloroplast, which is more in amount, we can say more in number. Obviously this chloroplast whichever present in that, those will be helpful for the photosynthetic activity. If you see that slide particularly, if you look at that slide carefully, we can find the structure of the chloroplast. One we can call it as a grana. Look at that structure of the chloroplast. In that case, we have outer membrane and inner membrane, stoma, grana, as well as lumen and thylakoids. These are the major structures. Even there is a chances in excess examination they might have been asked the diagram of the chloroplast as a question, the diagrammatic representation. We have to know that outer membrane is there, inner membrane is there, stroma is there, and grana is there, lumen spaces are there, and thylakoids, whichever the they are placed one upon another, that we are calling it as a thylakoids. In that case, guys, how the photosynthesis is going to be happen as a mechanism of the photosynthesis? If you look at that, there is a majorly two steps are present. One we are calling it as a light reaction. Second one we are calling it as a dark reaction. Why we are calling it as a light reaction, dark reaction separately? Because if you see the light reaction, it is nothing but light dependent action. If light presents only, then only the reaction will take place. How? For example, if you look at the H2O is a water molecule. How it will get dissociate? It will be dissociated into H plus OH minus. There is a 2 will be generated because of the dissociation of a H2O. And in that case, even if a dissociation of OH minus ion, that leads to half O2 plus 2H plus ions. Look at this, guys. It is a very simplified example. You have to know little mathematics as well as, if I'll say 2 halves, it indicates what? It is 1 mole. That is nothing but 1 oxygen will be releases. Same like in a, what we can say in reactants, and 2 hydrogens will get out from the particular reaction. That means 2 protons are generated and 1 mole of oxygen is released. In such cases, what is the major use of here the light reaction is, whichever the generated proton motive force is there, that H plus ions are there, whichever the rotation of the H plus ions and proton motive force leads to synthesis of ATP and plus NADPH. These are useful for the energy resources in the dark reactions to store the carbon dioxide by utilizing of this ATP energy, and they'll synthesize the carbohydrates like what we are doing of glucose material. You can see the slide even that indicating the light reaction and dark reaction. The slide is indicating here the sunlight is utilized and ATP synthesized, and Kelvin delivered the dark reaction. Dark reaction is totally explained by the Kelvin, and light reaction is explained by the Robert Hill. Remember these 2 names of the scientists. Light reaction is explained by the Robert Hill, and dark reaction is explained by the Melvin Kelvin. That is a dark reaction cycle, we are calling it as a Kelvin cycle, and light reaction we are calling it as a Hill reaction. Hill reaction because of his name. And finally, look at that slide carefully. What happened in the slide? First slide, Priestley experiment. First one, rat with a candle, and rat got died after few minutes. Why? Because carbon dioxide is generated, there is no oxygen is there, rat will get died. In second condition, menthol plant is there and candle is there. Because of the menthol plant, they will absorb the carbon dioxide in environment and releases the oxygen. The rat will survive in that particular slide. And the next slide, if you see hydrilla experiment, that is explained by the engine house. Remember that hydrilla plant releases the oxygen to outside by the photosynthetic activity. That indicates that experiment oxygen releases from the plants. And last one, black pepper experiment and iodine starch experiment. That is we can do by using of iodine. Iodine, if you add the iodine to that particular starch material, it will give the blue color. That means if you place directly on a leaf, it is not visible. We have to place that leaf in the ethanol or methylated spirit. What will happen? The chlorophyll totally get dissolves into the methylated spirit, and plant leaf will becomes into white. Then if you give a dry in a case, then if you place any iodine solution, it will become. If you are not been added the methylated spirit and boiled, then what will happen? Chlorophyll remains like that. We are unable to recognize whether it is become a blue or not. That is a starch test, what we learned in a 7th class even, right? And the summary is totally about that. And we have 2 projects here. Look at there, plant a tree and get oxygen for free. How sweet this quotation is. Plant a tree and get oxygen for free. Explain the statement in your words. This is what the project work. And collect the information about the importance of Haritaharam, which is launched by our Chief Minister Kalvakuntla Chandrasekhar Rao. As Haritaharam is the biggest revolutionary issue in Telangana. Hopefully everyone has to work it on that. Even Gurukula students, have you seen that in the slide also, they are planting that, and we are also in our school, we planted for more than 500 plants, right? And save the plant and save your life, each one of the plant, right? Thank you very much, guys, right? It is about thank you very much giving for me this opportunity to deliver my lecture. Thank you. And here, if you wind up.